Our 10th anniversary dinner was meant to be warm and simple, just a handful of close friends, shared memories, and a quiet celebration. Instead, it became the moment I realized the woman beside me was no longer the person I once vowed to love. The restaurant glowed with soft lighting, a gentle jazz tune drifting through the air, candlelight flickering in the glasses. Sophia sat at the head of the long table, her silver dress catching every bit of light. Most of her co-workers had already worked their way through a generous amount of champagne, and that tipsy boldness had taken over the room. When the waiter refilled our glasses, she pushed back her chair and lifted hers high. "To my husband," she said with a sloppy grin, "for managing to put up with me for 10 whole years." She paused dramatically, enjoying the attention. "But starting tonight, things are going to change." Her friends leaned forward eagerly. "First rule," she announced, "I get to take solo trips whenever I want." No interrogation. A roar of laughter followed. Someone shouted, "Yes. Show him how it's done." "Second rule," she continued, "no checking my phone or asking where I am. Because trust, right?" More laughter. Hers the loudest. I forced a small smile, though my stomach tightened. She was mocking promises I had begged her to honor, especially after her last work trip ended with too many unaccounted for nights. My friends shifted uncomfortably. Hers thought the whole thing was hilarious. She wasn't finished. "And rule number 3, she added with an exaggerated wink, "I decide when we're intimate. No more random hugs or clingy moments. Got to keep a man wanting, right?" Her friends practically screamed with delight, the sound echoing across the room. Even the waiter hesitated nearby, unsure if he should interrupt. Something inside me clicked, not anger, but a cold, steady realization. I rose from my seat, lifted my glass, and spoke evenly. To my wife, I said, "Thank you for reminding me that love should never feel like humiliation and loyalty isn't something you weaponize." The table went still. "And since you've made new rules," I added, "I've decided to make one of my own." Sophia's smirk faltered. "What's that supposed to mean?" "My rule is simple," I said. "If you want freedom, you can have it. Just not as my wife." The laughter died instantly. Forks froze midair. Sophia's hand shook as her confidence collapsed into confusion. "Happy anniversary," I finished quietly. A sudden stillness swallowed the table. Her friends exchanged nervous glances, unsure what to do. "You're joking," she said with a strained laugh. "It was just a joke." "You've made too many of those at my expense," I said. Her co-workers became silent, staring at the table, pretending to be busy. Sophia's expression twisted. Annoyance, then disbelief, then anger. "You're really doing this here?" she hissed. "You started it here," I replied. "I'm just responding." She slammed her glass down. "You're overreacting." "Maybe. But I've spent years underreacting." The waiter bravely approached and asked if we wanted dessert. I shook my head. "No. Just the check." Sophia leaned toward me, voice sharp. "If you're trying to embarrass me, I'm not." I cut in. "I'm giving us both what you claim you want. New rules. New freedom. New consequences." By the time we got home, the silence was blistering. She stormed inside, her heels cracking against the floor. "You humiliated me," she yelled. In front of everyone. I finally defended myself. I said quietly, something she'd never allowed me to do. "So what now? You're leaving over a stupid toast." I studied her. The woman who once hid love notes in my lunch bag had vanished long ago. What stood in front of me was someone who needed an audience to justify cruelty. "I'm not leaving because of one toast," I said. "I'm leaving because I realized you already stepped out of this marriage. I'm just catching up." For once, she had no retort. The truth hit her slowly. I grabbed my jacket and headed for the door. "Where are you going?" she whispered. "To follow my own rule," I said. "One where I'm not your punchline." I spent the night in a small motel. Not running, just breathing. For the first time in years, I slept without tension. By morning, my phone was overflowing with messages, her coworkers, our friends, all saying the same thing. She's devastated. You actually left. I didn't respond. She needed to sit with it. By afternoon, she called. I let it ring. The texts came one after another, apologies, explanations, excuses. But I'd learned something in the quiet. A sorry can't rebuild what someone repeatedly chooses to shatter. Within days, I moved my things into a rental. She showed up at my job. Makeup smeared, voice cracking. You're really ending our marriage over one bad night? It wasn't one night, I said. It was years of small cuts you insisted were jokes. She reached for my hand. We can fix this. No, I said gently. You can't repair something you kept breaking deliberately. Her face fell as she realized she'd lost the one person who always let her get away with it. I didn't think you'd ever stand up to me, she whispered. That was the problem, I replied. You thought I never would. A month later, the divorce was finalized. She tried to make things complicated, but even her lawyer, the same man who'd laughed with her that night, urged her to end it quietly. I heard she stopped going out with that group for a while. Maybe shame, maybe regret. As for me, I built a quieter life, a smaller place, fewer people, but everything finally felt genuine. Sometimes I still think about that dinner, how a single toast exposed years of buried hurt. But whenever I remember saying, if you want freedom, you can have it, just not as my wife. A calm settles over me. Peace, at last.